The Smith Trans-global is a very stylish, dressy watch inspired by the 1951 Universal Geneve pole router. It's a modern take on the original Universal Geneve design with a 38mm diameter case, sapphire crystal, screw-down crown, water resistance rating of 100 meters and an anti-magnetic rating of 20,000 ampere per meters, making it a very appealing offering at just £365. Before we go into the details, I think it's worth looking back at the history of the original design from the 50s and the purpose and philosophy behind this piece. In the 1950s, the Scandinavian airline system were flying across the Atlantic, and to reduce the duration of the flight, they flew directly over the North Pole. The high magnetic fields encountered in the area wreaked havoc to the timekeeping systems of the aircraft and the crew, leading the airline to approach Universal Geneve, a renowned watchmaker brand at the time, to manufacture a wristwatch with high anti-magnetic properties. This watch became known as the pole router, although originally called polar router. The pole router was designed by a then 23-year-old Gerald Genta, and the watch's production ran from 1954 until 1969. Personally, I think this is one of Gerald Genta's most overlooked designs. Even though he is most famous for the Royal Oak and the Nautilus, both of which designs I feel look outdated by today's standards, the Transglobal has a more timeless and refined style and doesn't look not a bit out of place today. But how come we've ended up with a Universal Geneve homage by a once very popular British brand? The roots of Smiths go back all the way to 1851, when Samuel Smith founded the Smith & Son watchmaking company. But the brand didn't really take off until much later, in 1939, in a meeting between the Ministry of Aircraft Production and the then chairman of Smiths. As World War II loomed on the horizon, the ministry was beginning its attempts to bolster British defences by coordinating efforts with the nation's manufacturing industry. After closing some very lucrative contracts with the government, Smiths manufactured thousands of military-grade watches during the war, including aviation clocks, pocket watches, stopwatches, and even a center-seconds watch for the Royal Air Force. But as the war ended, obviously there was no more need for the massive quantities of watches for the military, so Smiths reverted to manufacturing watches for the average retail client, but slowly fell out of the limelight and couldn't keep up with the Swiss competition. The Smiths brand of today has nothing really to do with the historical British brand. Smiths branded watches are sold on the Time Factor's website, which is a reseller of a handful of brands. The new Smiths watches are mostly homages of older historical models, but there are some unique designs and historical ratios you can find. Currently, they're most notably known for their Smiths Everest model, which also has a great history behind it, but that's a story for another video. The Smiths PRS-54 is a faithful representation of the original Universal Geneve pole router, with the most notable difference being the size change. We've jumped from 34.5mm, which was the norm back then for dress watches, to 38mm, to bring it to more contemporary dimensions, but still within the lower end as it suits a dressier watch. The case is made from 316 stainless steel, it is fully polished from the bezel to the lugs, and all the bevels share the same mirror finishing. There is a domed sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the underside, which is a nice touch. At the 3 o'clock position there is an unsigned screw-down crown, and on the back we're greeted by a solid and engraved screw caseback. The finishing, I would say, is better than what's expected of a 365-pound watch. All the bevels, edges and surfaces are well finished, and the whole watch feels very solid and looks more expensive than its price tag suggests. If I had to fault something, that would be the not so perfect bracelet and link fit. There is a small gap between the lugs, but honestly this is very minor and hardly noticeable. The dimensions are 38mm in diameter, 41mm if you include the crown. It's 12.3mm high, but that includes the domed crystal. Without it, it's around 11mm. The lug-to-lug distance is 46.7mm and the lug width is 20mm. These are the Goldilocks dimensions, which means it will fit most wrists anywhere from 14 to 18 inches, no problem. If you have a larger wrist, it may look a tad small, but being a dressy watch, that's to be expected. You don't really want a big hockey puck on your wrist. Let's see how it wears with some wrist shots and pocket shots. For reference, my wrist is 6.75 inches or about 17 centimeters. caseback is nothing to write home about. It's a screw-solid caseback that features an engraving of the globe and the Smith's logo. On the outer ring, we can find the model name, water resistance inscription, and a marking highlighting the 20,000 amperes per meter anti-magnetic properties. The movement is an automatic Miyota 9039, has 24 joules and beats at 28,800 beats per hour and features a 42-hour power reserve. It's a no date and features second hacking. Even though these are rated between -10 to +30 seconds per day, mine keeps excellent time, and on the time grapher it clocks in at +6 seconds per day, so I don't know if Time Factors does any regulating before shipping out the watches or if I've just been very lucky, but I have been very pleased with its accuracy and power reserve. Moving on to the dial, the model I have in hand features an off-white or cream colored dial, but you have a choice of black, cream, royal blue, ice blue, salmon and aventurine dials. I personally like the salmon and aventurine dials a lot as they're very unique, but the ice blue is also nice. The watch furthermore features a sector dial, the Smith's logo printed at 12 o'clock and the word automatic above 6 o'clock. There are applied golden indices and golden Daphne hands. There is also an elevated white ring with a vertical line pattern finishing on which sit the hour markers, which gives a rather nice depth to the dial. It's worth noting that there's no lume whatsoever, which is in line with the dress watches of that era. I think the dial is one of the strongest selling points of the watch, and it's what originally drew me in. I always liked a well-executed sector dial, and the raised outer perimeter creates a 3D depth which you never really see. The bracelet is solid link stainless steel beads of rice with screwed links, solid end links and adjustable signed push button clasp. The bracelet is very well made and the clasp boasts 3 different micro adjustment positions, although it's not on the fly. You need a tool to adjust the micro setting, but it's better than nothing for sure, and at this price point micro adjust is not a given. There are watches out there from huge brands whose price tags is in the multiples of the PRS-54 and they still don't offer any type of micro adjustment. The inner links of the bracelet are polished whilst the outside links are brassed. It looks really nice, especially with the all polished case design. The only downside of the bracelet is that the edges of the back are a bit sharp to the touch. It could use some sanding down to make it more smooth. The clasp is a push button, features a polished surface signed with the logo and brand name. It looks really nice and works fine. I also like the fact that it's not too long, so you can easily put it on and take it off. The watch only comes with a beads of rice bracelet, but I think it would look lovely on leather or croc strap for an even more dressier option. Final thoughts. The PRS-54 is a beautifully repackaged classic design from a legendary brand. You can still find the original pole router on the second-hand market from around $1,700 all the way up to $4,000 or $5,000 depending on the exact model and condition. So if you're looking for a cheaper and more reliable alternative in a more contemporary size, the Smith is an excellent choice. Not just that, but it has also introduced many improvements like the sapphire crystal, 100 meters water resistance, and of course a modern and easily repairable movement. Thank you for watching my review. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing.